Afternoon. It is my pleasure to give this week's version of book review online, sadly, but there we go. Life gets pretty busy, and it would be fair to say that sometimes there isn't that much spare time. When I do have spare time, I like to pursue my own version of the 3 R's, not the reading, writing, and arithmetic version, but rather rowing, rugby, and reading. Sometimes I like to combine the two, rowing while watching rugby, reading while watching rugby, but never rowing while reading though. That would be poor. Plus, very hard to do, given your hands can't row and hold a book all at the same time. But it's reading I'm here to talk to you today about. I like a multitude of styles of book, but my go-to are the Jack Reacher type books. Hard-nosed fellas who just get stuff done. They're fairly black and white in their decision-making, look after the downtrodden and less fortunate, or indeed anyone who just needs a hand, and aren't looking for a whole lot of certificates to put on the fridge to tell them they've done a good job. Some of you will be aware that in the window of the library at the moment, there is a promotional poster with a number of authors of a similar ilk to Lee Childs. I am proud to say I've read most of it. I'm a big fan of Evan Smoke and the Orphan X series. I really like the Quinn Colson series as well. The Kiwi author Ben Sanders, who writes about Marshall Grade, is also worthy of your time. I love anything by Matthew Riley, in particular his Scarecrow series. When I'm after a bit of Nordic noir, then Joe Nesbo, a Norwegian author who writes about a flawed policeman called Harry Hole, is the book of choice. And then, of course, there is Ian Rankin, whose main character is John Rebus, a detective in Edinburgh. So the full spectrum of classic swashbuckling heroes to gritty, flawed heroes, all with the same mindset, to solve the wrongs of the world. One author who isn't on the promotional poster, though, is a fellow by the name of Vince Flynn. He started the series that sees anti-terrorist agent Mitch Rapp go to work all around the world. Wikipedia describes him as a counter-terrorist operative whose primary focus is thwarting terrorist attacks on the United States. He is presented as an aggressive operative who is willing to take measures that are more extreme than might be considered commonly acceptable. What that basically means, boys, is that Mitch operates at times outside the rules of society because he is up against people who care nothing for those same rules. His moral compass is very black and white, and he cares nothing for the politics and egos that often hamper the efforts to eradicate bad people from this planet. He is the tip of the spear. If he has to torture someone, he will. If he has to kill someone, he will, and he won't lose any sleep about it. His moral compass is formed from losing the two great loves of his life to terrorism, and he becomes disillusioned by what the US were doing to fight the war. The book that I'm going to talk about is American Assassin, which, while not the first book in the series, in terms of publication dates, is indeed the prequel to the series. It gives the backstory and goes through his enlistment into the CIA, his training, and his subsequent unleashing onto the terrorists who threaten the US's way of life. American Assassin is also the first of the series to be made into a movie. The movie is not the worst, although it would be fair to say the storyline is a wee bit removed from the book itself, as is often the way. American Assassin traces his pathway from becoming an outstanding athlete and student who suffers great loss. We are with him as he goes through the rigorous training program where he discovers new limits and overcomes hurdles placed in front of him because he hasn't come through the normal pathways. He isn't a soldier, and so the old dogs on the course want to get rid of him as soon as they can. We are with him when he goes on his first mission and his first kill, and that first realization that while he thinks he is fighting the good fight, there are plenty of people supposedly on his side who tend to speak a good fight, but don't really want to get their hands dirty. This leads him to question his role as the tip of the spear, especially when those holding the spear seemingly want him dead as much as the terrorists he is supposed to be fighting. The Mitch Rapp series is a superb action-based series which has an obvious hero and support cast. It also has a myriad of politicians and interest people shaking his hand with one hand while stabbing him in the back with the other. All in all, a rollicking read, perfect for those times where a bit of action and intrigue is what is required, rather than the deep philosophical meanderings of other well-intentioned authors, such that you might find in various top 100s. There are 18 books in the series, and the library has many of them. I am 2 books away from the full set. Talk about life goals.